Hello and welcome. I am a hotel AI expert, and on behalf of Europe Hotel School, I am so pleased to welcome you to your online learning journey. As you step into the incredible world of hospitality, you're going to find that numbers, well, they tell a story. In this explainer, we're going to learn how to read that story, to see beyond the spreadsheets and really understand the narrative of a hotel's performance. So let's stop thinking about your hotel's financial statements as these boring spreadsheets, because that's truly what they are, a compelling story. Every single number, every line item, it tells you something. It tells you how the hotel is doing, how it's taking care of its guests, and at the end of the day, how it's creating success. All right, let's dive right in. Every great story needs a main plot, right? It's that central narrative that guides you through all the action. Well, in hotel finance, that main plot is without a doubt the income statement. It's the document you'll be looking at most often to really get the big picture.
So what is it exactly? Well, think of the income statement as a snapshot in time, usually for a month, maybe a quarter, or a whole year. It shows you exactly what came in the door, what went out to make that happen, and what was left over. It is the single most important report for understanding a hotel's financial health, period.
And you can even think of the income statement like a classic story. Your main characters are the revenues, from the rooms, the restaurant, the spa, all of it. The challenges they face, the obstacles, those are the expenses it takes to operate. And it all builds to a climax, the final profit, the bottom line. But here's the thing, the main plot is only half the picture. The real magic, the really deep insights, while that comes from digging into the subplots. And in our hotel's story, the subplots are all about the performance of each individual department. This is where we find the real story behind the story. These reports show us which departments are the heroes of our narrative. Is the restaurant pulling its weight? Is the spa actually profitable, or is it just busy? The answers to these questions are what explain why the main plot is unfolding the way it is. And this brings us to a really critical question. You could almost call it a plot twist in our financial story. We are so often trained to think that more revenue is always better. But is that really true? Let's take a look. This right here illustrates the point perfectly. Take a look at Restaurant A. Wow, it's bringing in a massive 100,000 euros in revenue. That looks fantastic, right? But hold on a second. Look at its costs. They're incredibly high, leaving only 10,000 euros in profit. Now look over at Bar B. It has much lower revenue, sure, but it's way more efficient. Its costs are under control, and it's delivering a much healthier departmental profit of 35,000 euros. So what's the crucial point? Revenue without profitability is just busy work. This is the core principle you have to internalize as a future hospitality leader. Success is not just about the top line. It is all about the bottom line. It's about how efficiently you can convert every euro of revenue into actual, tangible profit. Okay, so we've got our main plot, and we have our subplots. But a truly skilled manager, kind of like a great literary critic, knows how to read between the lines. They understand that the numbers themselves are just the beginning of the story. A single number on its own tells you almost nothing. Seriously, if I tell you that revenue was 500,000 euros this month, what does that even mean? Is that good? Is that bad? You have absolutely no idea without context. The real story only emerges when you start comparing numbers and understanding the relationships between them. And here is a perfect example of why this matters so much. At first glance, a 5% increase in revenue, that looks great. We're growing. But then you see that expenses grew by 10%, and the whole story just flips. Our costs are outpacing our income, which means our profitability is actually shrinking. That's the real story. The numbers are screaming at us. So how do you get this essential context? Well, there are 3 key tools you're always going to use. First, compare your actual results to the budget. Are you on track with your plan? Second, compare to previous periods. How are you doing versus last month or this same time last year? This is what reveals the trends. And third, you have to compare your performance to industry benchmarks. How do you really stack up against your competitors? So, up until now, we've talked about you as the reader of this financial story. But now I want to shift your perspective. Because as a manager, you're not just a reader. You are the author. Your decisions write the next chapter. Just think about it. Every single choice you make on the floor, how you schedule your staff, the prices you set for a banquet, the supplier you choose for your linens, every one of those decisions translates directly into a number on that income statement. You are actively writing the financial story of your department every single day. So, to empower you to be a confident author, here's a simple guide. When you get your report, First, just look at your revenue. Then, analyze your direct costs. What drove them? Third, immediately compare those figures to your budget and last year's performance to get that critical context. And finally, and this is the most important step, connect the numbers back to your own operational decisions. Ask yourself, what did I do that caused this result?
Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. These financial statements aren't just a record of the past. They are a guide for the future. They provide the feedback you need to make smarter decisions and write a story of success. The question is, what story will you choose to write?